Hello everyone, I'm Jacob Kaufman, I'm Nerd in the Street, and today we are taking a look at the KDE Plasma 5 desktop. So one of the great things about Linux is that there are a lot of different desktop environments you can choose from. You're not stuck with one layout on your desktop. You can choose between GNOME, KDE, XFCE, LXDE, Enlightenment, OpenBox, Mate, Cinnamon. There are all sorts of desktop environments that you can download. And a desktop environment, well, it is the desktop that you use. It's the GUI on your screen. Most desktop environments are based on some common libraries like the X Windows system, but they all offer different experiences. And one of the more popular desktop environments is KDE. Now, KDE has a long history, and it's well renowned within the Linux community for having a lot of options. It's very customizable, very configurable, and it also has a lot of graphical effects, so you can make your desktop look really good. Version 5 of the KDE desktop has been in the works for some time now, and I actually meant to do this video a few months ago, but version 5 was not quite ready yet. I did install it a couple months ago, and it just wasn't stable enough that I thought I could make a good video about it. It is stable enough now. And with this new version of KDE, we have a little bit of a naming convention change. KDE, K desktop environment, I don't know where they got K from. The desktop used to just be called KDE, so we had KDE version 4 for the past 5 years or whatever. However long it's been around. It's been around for a while. With this new version, it's no longer just called KDE, it's split up into multiple sections. So in the past, when you installed KDE, you got the desktop and you got a whole lot of built-in applications designed to work with the desktop. Now those have been split up into the KDE application collection. It's just called KDE applications. And then you've got the desktop itself, which is now called Plasma. So this new version of KDE is called Plasma 5. And like I said, this is a really big deal because KDE 4 has been out for a while, and this is a major release of KDE, and KDE is still one of the most widely used desktop environments on Linux. The most popular distribution that uses it is called Kubuntu, and I used Kubuntu a couple of years ago in my Life on Linux series. Kubuntu 15.04 came out with all of the other Ubuntu-based distributions that had 15.04 releases 3 days ago. I think it was 2 days ago, actually. Literally, just a couple of days ago, Kubuntu 15.04 came out. It's called 15.04 because this is 2015 and it's the 4th month. And you can now go to kubuntu.org and you can download Kubuntu 15.04 and try out Plasma 5 for yourself. If you still want to use KDE 4, you can do that for a limited time using Kubuntu 14.04, which of course is a long-term support release. But yeah, KDE 5 is no longer just a developer play thing. It is now actually released out into the world, and so I thought I would show you guys what it's all about. So here is a comprehensive overview of the KDE Plasma 5 desktop. Alright, so here we are on the desktop. Once again, this is KDE 5, and technically this is not just called KDE anymore. This is now called the Plasma desktop. So we'll just take a look around. As you can see, we're using the default wallpaper. I did change the theme. The default theme that comes with KDE is called Breeze. I'm using a theme called Breeze Dark because I like my monitor to be a bit darker because I look at it for long periods of time. So at the bottom of the screen is the main panel, and these are called panels. We can right click and you can see panel options. The default panel that we have is pretty similar to the Windows taskbar. So at the bottom left, we have our application launcher, which is pretty much the KDE menu. You've got your favorite applications, and you pin those to the favorites yourself. You've got applications by category view, so we can see all internet-related applications, or we can see all of our games, and as you can see, the category view can have nested menus. So we'll go back out of that. There's our computer section of the menu. And if we have things like flash drives plugged in, or if we have DVDs inserted into the computer, they will show up under the computer section. We don't have anything plugged in right now, so all we have is the run option. We've got the recently used section of the menu, so you can see recently used applications and also recently used files. This isn't just documents, this is any file that you've recently opened. And then when you're done, you can go over to the Leave section of the menu, You can either log out, lock your screen, switch users, or you can sleep, restart, or shut down your computer. So the menu is pretty darn simple to use. If there is something that you want to find in this menu, you can just type to search. So like, let's say that we want to launch Conqueror, we can open this up, just start typing Conqueror. So when we type the first 3 letters, we get everything that starts with those letters. As we move to the right, you see we have our little virtual desktop panel here. And I'll talk about virtual desktops in a bit, but you can just click on those little squares down there to switch between virtual desktops. Moving along, we have our application menu here. So this is all of our open or minimized applications. These applications are actually open on another desktop. Right now I have KDE configured to show all applications in the launcher, whether it's on the current desktop or not. If you want, you can set it to where, since those applications are in desktop 4, they only show up while you're in desktop 4. And if you're in desktop 1, you can set it to not show those applications. Next, we've got a bunch of blank space that's reserved for that application switcher. And at the other side of the panel, we have our system tray. So we've got volume controls, clipboard history. And it's nice that a lot of desktops, you have to install an extension or a plugin or something if you want history for your clipboard. KDE actually keeps track of your clipboard history for you. And I think it even keeps track of if you highlight things, because I know that Linux, you can sort of use highlighting as a secondary clipboard. We've got a network menu there if we click on that. And you can see if you're on Wi-Fi, you would use this to connect to your Wi-Fi. We're not on Wi-Fi, but we can see different stats about our connection. And then we've got a little arrow here. You can click that to close something if you have a box open here. And if everything is closed and you click that, it shows hidden icons. So if an icon is in the system tray, but it's not one of those main icons there, it will be hidden into this hidden icons box. So we've got notifications. Now let's say that one of these icons actually sends out a notification. The icon will be put down here so that you can see it. If SyncThing were to start syncing things, then the SyncThing icon would be shown here. So this hidden icons area is only for inactive things. Notifications are handled pretty nicely. Why don't I just show you a quick example of that by opening up a couple of file browsers. Go into like music. Music should be pretty safe to enter. And let's say that we copy a file. I don't know why I opened up 2 windows for this, but paste it. Suggest new name. Continue. So you could see down here, we just had a really quick status notification. And you actually can see the status of things like file transfers or even things like video renderings. You can see the status of those in the notification center, and you can also see all of your notifications here. So we'll close that. If there's a box that you want to stay open, see, if I were to click on the desktop, that would close. But if you want this box to stay open, or any of these boxes, you just click this little thumbtack in the top right, it will turn blue, and now that will stay open as I'm going and continuing to do other things. And then we can close it, and it will automatically close if we take that thumbtack off. Next up, we've got our clock, which has a calendar built in. The calendar is always handy to have, just because sometimes we need to look at a calendar to know what day of the week it is, or what the number date is today. But this calendar does not actually have built-in functionality that I know of for displaying events. It might integrate into some KDE software. So that's interesting. And then at the very right side, we've got a button where we can get options about this panel. So we can do things like change the screen edge that it's on. I actually don't want to mess up the panel right now. You can change the height of the panel right here. You can just click and drag. Once again, I'm not going to change anything because I've gone and customized this desktop and I like how I have it right now. But yeah, you can also add things to the panel. And that's also something you can do on the desktop. If we go up to our top right menu here, this is no longer a cashew menu. There used to be a little like speech bubble type icon here. Now it's, some people call this a hamburger menu. I just call it options menu because, you know, it's just 3 lines. So if we click on that, we've got all sorts of things we can do. Show dashboard. What's that? Is there a dashboard? If we drag things to our, let's see, analog clock. Okay. Hide dashboard. No, no. Alright, I'm not sure what that dashboard is for. So we will pay no attention to the dashboard. But as you could see, if we go up to that menu and click Add Widgets, we get a list of widgets that we can add to our desktop. For instance, an analog clock, or we can do a system load thing here. And if you have widgets on your desktop, you can click and drag them around. If you're lucky, you can hover over some of them to get more information. And when you hover over a widget, you'll get a little menu on the side of it. And you can resize the widget using that menu. You can rotate the widget. That's new. You can also get settings for the widget. So that's nice. So yeah, widgets are, I'm finding them, I actually didn't add any widgets, as you could see. In the past, I've really liked KDE widgets, but the new KDE 5 Plasma 5 desktop does not come with any widgets on the desktop by default. In the past, you've always had that default widget that displayed your desktop folder, but we can actually go into a file manager, look at our desktop folder, nothing's in it. Let's see, if we create something in here, does it show up on our desktop? No, it does not. So desktop files are actually not displayed, just like they're not displayed in GNOME 3. They're not displayed in KDE Plasma 5. You can hear our notification sound there. And one thing, I just want to point this out. I know this is sort of the middle of other things, but if I create a new folder, and I delete the folder, move it to the trash, and we get that, oh, now it's not going to do it. Alright, I've had an issue in the past where when KDE sends a notification sound, it turns the volume up to 100%. But that did not happen right there, so maybe I just installed updates before I did this video. So yeah, maybe it got fixed. So like I was saying, widgets are not a must-have for me, but I know that widgets are kind of an icon for the KDE desktop. So yeah, it is nice that they're still here for us to use. I will go ahead and get rid of them. And as you can see, we get a nice little widget removed. Would you like to undo, just in case you accidentally clicked the X button in that notification area. The next thing I want to show you is a little applet called KRunner, and it comes enabled by default on KDE 5. And what it lets you do is it lets you just start typing the name of a document or of an application, and you can open it. Now, you can already do this sort of in the launcher. If we search, like I said, Conqueror comes up. Let's see, does it work with documents? It does work with documents. But in addition to being able to search in that menu, which you can open with your meta, no, you can't open it with your meta key. In addition to being able to search in the menu, you can search just on the desktop. If I start typing Conqueror, as you can see, this little thing pops up from the top of the screen and starts giving me options. And this is called KRunner. So we can see options for KRunner. We can choose what we're searching through. So if I start typing nerd on the street, looks like we've got a bookmark. Our file isn't coming up. If I type in .mp4, we'll get recent documents. So it doesn't index every file in the system like the GNOME tracker does, which is actually one of the reasons I switched away from GNOME to do this video. Was because I was really getting tired of the tracker constantly using my hard drive. So yeah, I really don't mind that this thing doesn't index all of our files, but it does index recent documents, and it does index all of your applications, looks like your web bookmarks. So yeah, if we, once again, X out of that, you do need to be focused on the desktop. So if you're in like Dolphin, and I start typing, it's going to do stuff inside of Dolphin. If I X out of Dolphin, oh, it did capture the mouse to the desktop there, so that's nice. And you can press escape to close it once it's open. So yeah, that's KRunner. Next, I want to show you Conqueror, just because it's still here. And here's the deal with Conqueror. KDE is not just a desktop anymore. Like I said, the desktop is called Plasma. KDE is a collection of applications. And so you're supposed to use all of these KDE applications, and you're supposed to find it a cohesive experience. So one of the KDE applications is Conqueror. You can tell when you're in a KDE application is because when you click Help, you see about that application and about KDE. Conqueror is a web browser, is what they say it is. I have heard people say that Conqueror is actually a file browser, and it does work for browsing files, as you can see. You can use Conqueror as a fully featured file browser, but there are others who say that Conqueror is a good web browser. If we just head on over to nerdonthestreet.com, you can see that the web page loads. Our videos are not showing up and the ad is not showing up. And that has to do with Flash, but they should fall back to HTML5 if Flash is not present in this browser, but they're just kind of stuck there. They don't know what to do. Let's try youtube.com and just click on, I don't know what's safe to click on here. Here, we'll click on a Disney trailer. That has to be safe. So it looks like Conqueror does not work very well with YouTube. And if we go to like, here's an older website, or an older style, it's still being updated. So you can go to like text-based websites like DistroWatch. They work. What else should I try this with? If you go to Google, you see Google displays the classic light version of their website here. So yeah. Conqueror is a web browser, and it does work. It's got some nice features built in, like you can block individual items, I guess. It's got a separate search bar from the address bar. It's really not very full featured. You can see it uses KHTML, which is what Safari used to use. I think they've since switched to WebKit or something. But yeah, Conqueror is interesting. It's pretty, like I said, it may not be outdated in terms of like code commits, but it is certainly outdated in terms of features. And so if you're using KDE, you're probably not going to use it as a software compilation. If you're like me, I don't use the whole KDE app collection. I use the KDE desktop, and then I use like Chromium for my web browser. And we can open that up and make that smaller so we can put it side by side. And so it looks a little different. You know, it doesn't fit in quite as well with the KDE desktop, but it does work better than Conqueror does. And that's the same with a lot of apps. You know, you've got an instant messenger in KDE called, I think it's called Copete. Yeah, you can see Copete Instant Messenger there. So you can choose to use that, or you can choose to use something like Telegram, like a third-party messenger app. So you can use KDE as an app collection, or you can use the KDE desktop without using all of the KDE apps. No matter what you're using, let's open Conqueror back up, just for demonstration purposes. There is excellent virtual desktop support in KDE. KDE was one of the first desktops to really have virtual desktops. And it's got some really nice features. It's really configurable. KDE, the name of the game is configuration. So I have already set up my virtual desktops. This is not a how-to video. This is more of a tour for KDE. So you can see I've set up a shortcut in the top left corner of my monitor to display all 4 desktops I have. And you can easily create new desktops or get rid of desktops there. In addition to having this overview, which is sort of similar to Cinnamon, and I can drag applications between different desktops. In addition to that, I also have enabled some shortcuts. So I have created shortcuts for moving between my desktops. And usually what I do is I use the Windows key for my virtual desktop key. Since I'm on a Mac keyboard, I used the Command key. So Command right moves a desktop to the right, Command down moves down. And then you can see I've enabled this box that's popping up in the middle of the screen telling me what desktop I'm on. That is disabled by default, but I like that feature, so I enabled it. I've also enabled this thing, which is the desktop cube, and it looks freaking awesome. And, you know, this is the kind of stuff that you want to show your friends if you want to get them interested in Linux. You want to show them the eye candy stuff like this. So yeah, there are plenty of ways to switch between virtual desktops and KDE. Like I said, you can also just go down to the bottom left of your screen and click on that widget there. Those buttons are kind of small, but yeah, you can right-click on any window and click Move to Desktop. Let's see, I'm on a trackpad right now. Move to Desktop 1, there we go. Yeah, just so you all know, I've recently decided that I want to start using my trackpad a little more, so I'm making this video using a trackpad. So if my clicks look a little awkward, that's why. So that's virtual desktops. Let's go to another desktop. The next app I want to talk about is one that's especially close to my heart. It's called Kdenlive. And Kdenlive is a video editor. For the longest time, Kdenlive was just an independent project. but it recently became part of the KDE software suite. So when you get Kubuntu, Kdenlive now comes with Kubuntu. And if you're on another distro and you install KDE, then Kdenlive does come with KDE. So let's open it up. And I don't like to make videos about making videos, but this is how I make videos, is with Kdenlive. And this is what Kdenlive looks like. Like I said, I'm using the Breeze Dark theme for all of my KDE apps. So yeah, this will look different if you just install it on GNOME or something. But yeah, Kdenlive is actually a really, really nice editor, and I'm surprised that it doesn't get more attention. A lot of the attention, when people think of easy-to-use video editors on Linux, a lot of people just think about OpenShot. And OpenShot is not the only option out there. Kdenlive actually is much more stable than OpenShot. It's got a much more active development team than OpenShot, a much larger development team than OpenShot also. It's faster than OpenShot. I find it to be faster. I think that the design is nicer than OpenShot. It's definitely got more effects, it's got more robust features, and you might compare Kdenlive actually to Lightworks. And Lightworks I actually tried out not too long ago, and I was really surprised. All of my videos, this is something that I would not have appreciated about Kdenlive had I not tried out Lightworks. Lightworks is a paid video editor for Linux. And I was having a lot of problems with Lightworks, and people told me, oh, we'll transcode your video files to this using this third-party application. And then import it into Lightworks, and Lightworks will transcode it into this third format, and that will be what you use to edit. And so I ended up wasting a lot of time transcoding my videos. I just want to say, shout out to Kdenlive, little PSA here. Kdenlive does not make you transcode your video files. I have never had a video file that Kdenlive would not play. I've never had a video file that I had to transcode before Kdenlive would play it. And I think people don't value that as much as they should, you know? You waste time, you waste electricity, you waste energy transcoding files, and Kdenlive does not make you do that. So yeah, if you're interested in getting into video editing, just thought I'd throw that out there. Kdenlive is now officially a KDE application. Next up, we'll look at an application that you will probably end up using, which is Console. And Console, once again, does not look like this by default, but I did modify it for the green on black theme, and I added a little bit of transparency to it. And yeah, you really can't go wrong with the terminal emulator, but I actually really like Console. It's simple. You can have like multiple tabs for some reason, but it's easy to open up like a new console window. You know, you've got all the usual. It's just a terminal, but you know, it works. It's pretty functional. Yeah, that is Console, and looks like it thought that was a crash, even though it was not a crash. I also want to show you the system monitor that comes with KDE is called KSysGuard, and it's sort of your task manager for KDE. It's called System Monitor in GNOME. So yeah, it's actually called System Monitor in KDE as well. It's just the launcher calls it KSysGuard. So you can sort all of your open processes in KSysGuard. You can sort them by alphabetical order, which a lot of them are going to start with K. You can sort them by the username they're running under. You can sort them by CPU usage, memory usage, and you can see that Plasma does use a bit of memory, especially if you have all those effects enabled. It's actually not that much memory. Memory usage, oh yeah, it's about half a gigabyte. So yeah, KDE is not a lightweight desktop at all. That's well known. You can also see the system load in KSysGuard, and those are the only two tabs up here. Process table, system load. It seems like most system monitors have more options than that, but we don't really need any more options than that. One of our processors is at 100%, so that's interesting. But you can see all of your processor cores and how hard they're working. You can see your memory usage, your network history, and this is very, very functional. It's easy to open. If we open up Kdenlive, then System Monitor, Kdenlive, you can just right-click on it, send signal, kill. You know, pretty easy to manipulate your tasks here. You can search through your processes. So yeah, very nice System Monitor there. And the last thing, I think that you're getting the idea here, KDE is really, it used to be for power users. It's not just for power users anymore, but I think power users are really going to like it. But the biggest part of KDE is not any specific feature because it's pretty simple. It's a simple desktop, isn't it? The biggest part of KDE is, of course, the system settings. And you can see all of these different settings that we have. GNOME does not have this many settings. But KDE, you can see we have our wobbly windows enabled. We've got our dark theme enabled. You can go in here. You can change the theme. So right off the bat, if you don't like KDE 5, you can switch it back to Oxygen, which was the theme for KDE 4. Here you can see I selected Breeze Dark, but there's also, like if I go to Breeze Light and click Apply, this is what KDE looks like. Well, it's what it looks like by default, other than the window setting is a different setting. But you can see that the taskbar is white now. I like it better when it's darker. You can select your cursor theme, and there are a whole bunch of cursor themes that come with KDE. You can even select your splash screen, so you can get the old splash screen back if you liked that. Or at least the older style splash screen back. Looks a little like the old one. You can change, like I said, this is the part where application color scheme. This is what this looks like before. And I thought that this was a little bright, so I switched it over to Breeze Dark. Same with your icons. There's a different dark icon theme that comes with this. Application style. One thing that I did was I came in here and I made the window title bars smaller, because normally the title bars are this big. And if we go over to like Dolphin here, let's move that and close Conqueror. If we go over to Dolphin, look how big that title bar is. I don't like how big that is. I think it wastes a little bit of room. So we went and changed that to small, and now all of these, you know, the X buttons and everything are just a little bit smaller. So I like how that looks. You can also change your GNOME application styles too. So yeah, there's all kinds of options. I'm not going to walk through every single one of these, but I will go to desktop behavior. You can go and check out desktop effects. This is all of the desktop effects that are available, and there are a lot of them. So you can look through those. Some of them are related to accessibility. Some of them are just fun. And then you can select what different screen corners and screen edges do. And virtual desktops is another useful one to have. You can configure all your virtual desktops and all of the shortcuts and everything for them there. And yeah, KDE just comes with a whole lot of settings. You can search through for individual settings. So like desktop back, no? Desktop fonts, effects. You can, it's not foolproof, but you can search through, more or less, you can search through all of the settings that you have available to you. So yeah, KDE is just a really simple desktop environment. It's very extensible. Well, actually, I don't know how extensible it is, but it doesn't need to be extensible because it's got all sorts of options built right in. So yeah, if you're coming from Windows and you're looking for a Windows-like desktop environment, KDE is certainly one of those Windows-like desktop environments, and certainly if you're looking forward to how much customizability Linux gives you, KDE is a prime example of customizability. So yeah, all in all, KDE version 5 is doing pretty good. It's pretty darn stable. I haven't really focused on new features versus old features in this video, but really a whole lot didn't change. Functionally, there was not a whole lot. I think this KRunner thing is new. And I think I actually don't use KRunner that often, and you could do the search in here before anyway. Not a whole lot is new, but the new theme, and the new theme is, you know, it's alright, it's pretty flat, which seems to be what the trend is these days. So yeah, KDE, like I said, wow, this is going to be a long video. KDE is looking pretty good, and Plasma 5 is definitely stable. And the reason I didn't do this video a couple months ago actually, I installed KDE 5, and I did not make the video for it because it was not stable, but it is now. So yeah, if you've been waiting to upgrade to the latest version of Kubuntu, the new version of Kubuntu 15.04 does come with Plasma 5. If you're on Arch, you can just install the I think it's called Plasma Desktop or something. It's in the Arch repositories, and you can install that. And yeah, make sure to install the KDE applications as well, because even if you don't use them, it's good to have them installed, just so everything looks good. Yeah, there's also some other applications I didn't look at. Like, there's the KDE Office apps, but I use LibreOffice anyway. I don't use the KDE Office apps. There's, like, Kmail, if you still use a desktop mail client. So, yeah, there's all kinds of KDE applications. The video would be way too long if I went through them all. So, yeah, that is a general overview of the KDE desktop environment. Hopefully, even if I didn't express it very well, hopefully you watched and got a good sense of how it feels to use this desktop. If you have any questions about this at all, please go to nerdonthestreet.com and leave a question in our forums, and I will answer you right there on the forums. But yeah, for now, I think I've got my editing work cut out for me. Hopefully this wasn't too long of a video, but this was KDE Plasma Desktop 5. I'm Jacob Kaufman, I'm the Nerd on the Street, and I will see you guys later. Bye.